Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to today's webinar. My name's Jackie, and I'll be spending around the next 30 minutes just talking through the final steps of the VAT return, in particular completing and also submitting the VAT return. So this is a follow-on from a previous session. We did this on Monday. So if you did miss that session and you want to catch up on it, we do have a recording available, and we will be running sessions in the future as well on VAT. So these are regular sessions, so don't panic if you did miss those. Let's have a look at the housekeeping first of all. So first of all, today you will notice that you've been placed on mute, and that just means that you can't speak to me today. But if you do have any questions, please do use the questions panel on the right hand side there, using the icon that looks like a speech bubble with the question mark in the middle to submit your questions across to me. And also there's a handout for today's session. So if you want to take a copy of that, it's the icon that looks like a document with a folded corner, and that will allow you to download a copy of today's slides. So what we're going to be looking at is the VAT transfer journals. We're going to be looking at the manual process versus the automatic process. So I'm going to show you different ways you can achieve the same thing. The same with the bank payment. We're going to show you the manual process and the automatic, and then we'll touch on VAT submission. And at the end of the session, we'll come back together for any final questions that you may have. So I am just going to launch a poll right now, and this is just to find out what VAT return you're submitting. So you should see this on your screen in the next few moments there. And we're just looking, are you doing a UK return? Are you on a Republic of Ireland return? Or are you in a situation where you're actually doing both? So I have popped the poll there, so you should see that on your screen. If you could participate, that would be fantastic. And sometimes a little bit of a delay for the responses to come through. Okay, they're starting to come through there now. So we're just up to about 60% of the vote. That's great. So thank you very much, everyone who did partake. And as you can see there, I'm just going to share the poll with you so you can see the results there. 83% of you are doing a UK return. We've got about 8% of you doing Republic of Ireland and around 8% of you doing both. So thank you very much for that. I am just going to hide that. We'll get back to the slides there. So today we again are working on a UK data set because that's normally where the majority of our customers come from. We will show you where there are differences. There's not huge differences between UK and Ireland on this particular session, but I will highlight those along the way for you. So I'm just going to go back to sharing, making sure I've got the screen shared there for you. Perfect. Okay. Now, just before we go any further, I do just want to make you aware that we do have bespoke training available. So if you do find after today's session that you want something a little bit more, you'd like to speak to one of our team, you'd like them to get their hands on your data and work through things with you, then we do have one-to-one bespoke training available. So there is an email address there. If you're interested, you can use that address and they will be able to arrange a personalised quote for you on that. Okay, so first of all, before I actually jump into the content, I want to show you exactly what I mean by completing the return. Okay, so I do have 3 data sets for today's session. So bear with me while I make sure I get the right ones at the right time for you. So first of all, I've got this VAT demonstration company. If I just pop into this VAT return here, my most recent one, and if I open that up, what we're talking about today is step 3 of the VAT return. Okay, so on our first session, we will have shown you prepare and reconcile. Today, we're looking at the steps on this window. So this is where we've agreed our figures, we've clicked on reconcile, and these are almost like the tidy up routines after the VAT return. So what we're going to be looking at is VAT transfer, so moving the values from the sales and purchase tax control account onto the liability, submission, and also recording the payment there. So this is where we are in the software. So pop back to the slides. And the first thing we're just going to talk about is that VAT transfer. So as I mentioned there, it is that you need to transfer the values from your sales and your purchase tax control accounts onto the VAT liability. And that's because payments can't be made to the sales and purchase tax control accounts directly because they are control accounts. You will make the payment from the VAT liability code. If you don't do these journals, what you'll find is you start to build up some really large values on those three nominal codes in your software. Now, this doesn't normally have a huge impact. Okay, it doesn't have a huge impact when you run things like your balance sheet report, because normally they are grouped together by the chart of accounts. They certainly are from a standard perspective. Okay, so the standard chart of accounts will group these three codes together, so ultimately they report correctly. However, if you were to look at your actual list of nominal codes and your nominal balances, or run your trial balance, you might start to think there's some figures here look really high, especially over a long period of time. So we need to do these journals to sort of clear those balances down each time we've done a VAT return and we've made a payment. Now I've got two data sets here to show you today to show a comparison of what would happen if you don't do them and what happens if you have done them. So first of all, I'm just going to bring across this one here, which is an incomplete transfer. Okay, so in this data set, we've got a year's worth of data. Now it doesn't have a lot of data in there, but it's got a year's worth of data. We've done 4 VAT returns, and as you can see here, they've all been paid to HMRC, so they're marked as paid in the software. However, the VAT has not been transferred. Now, if I look at my nominal codes for sales tax, purchase tax, and VAT liability, still have some balances on there. Now, they're not huge balances, and this is a very small data set, but gradually over time, these will just accumulate and accumulate and just get bigger and bigger. So ideally, what we want these to be is a true representation of what is due to HMRC for that quarter. And at the moment, this is actually showing what was due to HMRC for the entire year. It's not yet cleared down. Now, if I compare it to the same data set, so it's an identical data set where we have done the transfers, so that's the only thing that's different. If we look at those same nominal codes, what we'll see there is my purchase tax has actually got nothing on there. My VAT liability is back to zero, and I've got a small balance on my sales tax control account. Now, I will be honest, it's very rare you're going to get your purchase tax control account back to zero. Okay, so this is probably not the perfect example, but you would expect it to be a lower value. You wouldn't expect it to be a high value. So this has done the journals, and it's essentially cleared those codes back down. So that is the difference between them. So I'm just going to pop back onto the slides, because I just want to show you what these journals actually do. So essentially what we're going to be looking at doing is transferring the sales tax control account, which is box 1 of the UK VAT return, and the purchase tax, which is box 4 of the UK VAT return. Slightly different in Republic of Ireland, just slightly though. So your sales tax value is the amount from the first box on the VAT return at the top of the list there. Purchase is slightly different because it depends if it's a payment or a reclaim due to or from revenue. Okay, so if it's a reclaim, it's going to be box T4 plus the VAT charge on supply of goods and services. And if it's a payment to revenue, it's going to be T2, so box number T2, and the VAT due on intra-EU acquisitions and postponed VAT. So those are the values that we're going to be looking to transfer. Okay, so manual posting can be easily done through a journal. Okay, now what we found when we went through Making Tax Digital in the UK was lots of people do these journals, but they do them manually. And there's nothing to say that you can't continue to do them manually. Okay, so if you're happy with the manual process, you can continue with that manual process. So just to show you then, if I give you an example here, I'm going to go into my incomplete transfers. Company, There we go. So say, for example, I wanted to transfer the VAT for this last VAT return in my list. We go into here. What we're looking for is getting the figure from box 1 and box 4, because this is the UK return, or using these figures here. Now what I want to do is go into nominal codes, journal entry, and I just need to make sure, first of all, that that journal is dated the last day of that VAT period, which was the end of September. And then I need to do the journal. Now, this is where things can go wrong, okay? So if you're really confident with journals, that's excellent. But this is where even I tend to go wrong, okay? So you've got to work out where you're going to debit, where you're going to credit. You need to remember your dates. You need to make sure you're using the right codes. You've got values, entry of values. You might transpose the figures around the wrong way. So it is open to a little bit of human error, okay? So this is where you've got to be really careful. Now the values I had there were £427.60 for box 1. So what I need to do is I need to debit my sales tax control account. And I need to credit the VAT liability for that. So I'm just going to insert a line there. So I'm just going to use my function and F7 key. And I'm just going to pop in 2202 there. There we go. And we're going to credit for the same value. So the 427.60. Now I need to do the same for my purchase tax control account, which was 217.20. But this time I need to credit the purchase control account. So that's 217.20. And then I need to debit the VAT liability. So as you can see there, this has opened me up to where I could potentially get things wrong, get numbers wrong, putting them the wrong way around. So there's a few things to consider there. Now what we can also do is, if you're using professional, is you can actually memorize this. Okay, so if you wanted to memorize it so that next time you don't need to remember where the debits and credits are, you should have the option to memorize if you're on professional. So when I memorize, it asks me to give it a name. So I'm just going to call this Wednesday PM and save. If I close out of this without saving, so normally you would save, but if I go into journal entry and recall, just find my item, so the one we called Wednesday afternoon, and load, it basically recalls what we saved. Now, yes, your next VAT return, these values will probably be different, okay, but however, it may have the debits and credits in the right place for you. So all you need to do is type over the figures and then pop in the correct posting date. So that's one way around this whole VAT transfer. However, we have tried to make this as easy as possible. Okay, so if you go into the VAT return itself, you go into this one here, we do have the nice handy button that will post the journal. Okay, and that will do that set of journals for you at the click of one button. Okay, so it's good to understand the theory as to why you're doing these journals rather than just posting without really understanding them. But clicking post journal will take care of that for you. So it takes all of the hard work out of doing those journals. Now I'm going to do this now just so you can see it, because what also happens is when I've done the post, it also marks it as transferred. If you were to do a manual journal, there is no way of it telling that you've actually completed that. So if I close out of here, you can see the VAT transfer column has changed to yes. So that is the VAT transfer. So the handout shows you both of those options. So you can have a look at those, that handout in your own time there. So the next one is posting the bank payment or receipt. So essentially, this is recording the payment or receipt in your Sage software that you've made that payment to HMRC. Now, this might seem quite simple for you, quite straightforward, but again, it's where people do have a choice. So it may be that you want to find out the value due to or from HMRC or Roz. So again, we can go into the VAT return, find out how much is due to be paid, and we can do a bank payment for that. So we could go into bank accounts, bank payment if it's money to HMRC or Roz, but if it is a reclaim, you would do a bank receipt, and you would do that to your VAT liability nominal code. The tax code to use would be a T9 because you don't have VAT on VAT payments. So it would be a T9 that you would select for the tax code there. Now that might be quite self-explanatory, but again, in the VAT return, if I can find it there, we do have the option to record the payment. Now I'm just going to go into my other company for this one so I can show you this one and one that hasn't been paid. So this is the one that hadn't been transferred. Payment's already been done, unfortunately. But what you do have the option is the option to either post a bank payment if it's a payment, and it recognises when it's a receipt. Okay, so if it was a refund, it would change the wording to post bank receipt. And as you can see there, it nicely marks it as paid for you as well. So when you look at your list, you can see that that particular one has been paid. Now, what this will not do, unless you've got e-payments set up, is it will not send that payment to HMRC in real life. Okay, it will if you use e-payments and you've got HMRC set up as a supplier, and it will if you're using supplier payments. Okay, so there are circumstances where it can, but just by simply clicking this, it won't make that payment. So normally you'll know if you're using those features. So that is making the payment to HMRC. Now, great opportunity just for me to remind you, if you've got any questions, please do get them through in the questions panel. This normally tends to be a quieter session on the questions there. I think it is quite a straightforward task. So please do get your questions across though. So finally, what we're going to look at is the actual submission process. And this is where it does differ in the UK and in Ireland. So in the UK, we're currently under Making Tax Digital rules. Okay, so that came in a few years ago now. So if you've been doing VAT for the last few years, you're probably already submitting under Making Tax Digital. However, if you're new to the software and you're about to start doing your first VAT return, you need to make sure it's switched on in your software. So to do that, you need to go into Settings, Company Preferences. I'm just going to quickly log on to one of the companies for you. Settings, Company Preferences, and within here we have a VAT tab. Just logging in there. So in VAT, this is where you can check if it has been enabled. So you can see there we've got the Enable Making Tax Digital for Submissions is selected, which is great. And what you also need to do is you need to make sure that you've also got your VAT registration number. So pop that in, just make sure you've got all the information in there. I've just seen a quick question come through there. Is there a notification to indicate the submission to HMRC has been made from Sage? So I will explain that in just a moment for you, don't worry. Yes, and there is a little video to demonstrate it, so don't worry. So make sure you've got all your details into here and then OK. And then what that means in the UK is that you submit directly from your software into the HMRC gateway. Okay, so all goes straight through, it's all digitally for you. You don't need to log on separately. It all happens when you click the option within the software. Now, it is slightly different in Ireland. Okay, so I will come back to that in just a second. What I do have though is I've got a very quick video, about 2 minutes long, which shows what a first VAT submission may look like in the UK. Now, if you are already submitting under Making Tax Digital rules, don't panic if yours is slightly different, okay? This is just to give a flavour of what to expect if it's your first submission. So I'm just going to start that now. Like I said, it's about 2 minutes long, and then we'll come back with the Irish submission as well.
In this demonstration, we're going to show you the steps to submit your VAT return online. We join the demonstration where we're on step 3 of the VAT return, so it's already been reconciled, and we're ready to submit it online. So on the right hand side, we click Submit Online. The online submission wizard appears, and you click Next. Ensure that the correct company name and VAT registration number appears, and then click Next. An authority page appears, and if you scroll down to the bottom, you can then click Continue. You're then prompted to sign in with your Government Gateway user ID and password. Once entered, click Sign In. You then click Grant Authority. You'll then be prompted to choose your period, and it should default to the correct one. Just make sure this is correct, and then select the checkbox to say that you agree to the following HMRC declaration, and then click Submit to HMRC. Once completed, a congratulations message appears, indicating you successfully submitted your VAT return to HMRC. You click Close. You then return to the VAT return, and as you can see, the VAT return is now flagged as being submitted.
Okay, so that was basically the UK submission for Making Tax Digital. Now, good thing to just cover there is when you've done a VAT return and you've submitted it from the software, what normally happens is you'll get a correlation ID. It's like a receipt ID, and it normally sits in here. So you can see that quite easily on the screen. Now, there was a known issue being investigated on that one. So if people are logging in to have a quick look and can't see that, it may just be that that hasn't yet been resolved. However, that is the normal course of action, is you would get a receipt number here so that you can easily reference and see that that has been submitted. But what will happen is this will show as marked as submitted, and you'll be able to clearly see that the submission's been done. Now in Ireland, it is slightly different. Okay, so you don't have Making Tax Digital just yet. What you need to do is you need to download a file, and that file then needs to be uploaded manually to ROS. Very similar to what we used to do in the UK just before Making Tax Digital. Now the file is in the correct format, it's an XML file, so what you have is the option to open the folder. And in that folder is the XML file that you need to upload. Then what you can do is you can tick to say mark as submitted again, just so that you can tidy up those loose ends and make sure your VAT return is showing as submitted in your software. Okay, so time for a summary. Okay, so make sure you've got a backup. Okay, regardless of what you're doing in the VAT return, always make sure you back up before you pop in there. The idea behind the VAT transfer is to transfer those balances that you've built up over the quarter or over the month, over that VAT period, and transfer them to the VAT liability so that it shows that you're ready to pay HMRC or ROS. And if you don't do that, then you'll just start to accumulate some large balances, which may look a little bit odd. Now the VAT transfer wizard is designed to make that a lot easier. So at the click of a button, it will take care of all 4 journals on your behalf. If you use the post payment receipt option, then that recognises whether or not it's a payment or a receipt that you would need to post in the software. And in the UK, the submission is sent directly from your software to HMRC, but in RAWS, it will require that XML file that needs to be downloaded and uploaded to the revenue. Okay, so time for any questions. And in the meantime, while we are waiting for questions, I'm just going to very quickly show you where you can find our help guides. So if you go to sage.co.uk/help, it will ask you to choose your software and you will come to this window here. And in here, you do have a specific area on manage your VAT. You can choose your location, and then it gives you lots of help guides available on different elements of the VAT return. You can also type in the word webinars. So if you type in here, webinars, what that will do is it will take you to either a recordings page, or we have our upcoming live webinars page here. So just want to do this one to show you what we've got coming up, because in a moment I'm just going to play you our International Accounting Day video, which is now proving very, very popular. We've had some messaging in the software. We've had lots and lots of registrations, so lots of people keen to get the next badge. But also what we've got for here is what we've got coming up the rest of the week. So we've got 2 more this week. We've got 2-factor authentication and also departments. Also looking into next week, we're doing things like bank fees, etc. But we are scheduled up to Christmas now. Okay, so we've got everything available on there. So keep an eye out for those sessions. So as I mentioned, it's International Accounting Day on the 10th of November. We're going to be celebrating slightly early because it's falling on a Sunday. So we thought, remember the 5th of November. We'll be running on the 5th of November. So they're going to start on the 5th, they're going to run right through to the 12th. So I'm just going to play this video. So again, if you've got any questions, please do get those questions across to us.
Mark your calendars for International Accounting Day on November the 10th, 2024. From the 5th of November to the 12th, join us for a week of exclusive quick learns packed with time-saving tips you can't afford to miss. Attend at least 4 out of the 5 webinars and ace our International Accounting Day quiz to earn our 2024 digital badge.
Kick off your journey with our first webinar, Getting Paid Time-Saving Opportunities. Join us as we unveil some game-changing tips and showcase powerful features designed to ensure you get paid swiftly and on time. Don't miss out on this opportunity to streamline your payment process and boost your efficiency.
Up next, work smart, automating everyday transactions. Join Abby as she dives into the world of automation, showing you how to effortlessly handle those recurring transactions and cut down on manual data entry.
Don't miss out on Wednesday's session, Reporting Made Easy. Join Michael as he reveals the secrets to optimizing your reporting processes. Discover how to find the perfect report for your needs and learn to run multiple reports simultaneously. A fantastic time saver.
Following that, don't miss quick tips to protect your data. Jackie will be sharing essential tips on safeguarding your data, scheduling backups, and using tools to access historic data risk-free. Equip yourself with the knowledge to keep your data secure and your mind at ease.
We round off the week with a bang in our Shortcuts for Success session. The team have compiled their favourite must-have features to help you make the most of your software. We'll share valuable insights and top tips on real-life quick fixes that will elevate your efficiency and productivity. Don't miss out on these game-changing shortcuts.
Finally, put your accounts knowledge to the test with International Accounting Day, the quiz. Each round will be themed around the topics we've covered throughout the week's sessions. It's the perfect way to celebrate International Accounting Day with Sage. Challenge yourself, have fun, and see how much you've learned to earn your digital badge.
Let's celebrate International Accounting Day in style. To secure your spot, head to sage.co.uk/webinars to get registered. We'll see you there.
Okay, so that was just International Accounting Day. So please do get yourself registered for those sessions. We do like to try and do something different, and we're going to be doing the quiz it's a little bit of fun. There's no there's no test at the end. Okay, so it's not a pass or fail. It's just a little bit of fun to test your knowledge. So a really good question has just come through there, just around if a transaction was included in a VAT return and it was changed after submission, what would the impact be? So let's actually demonstrate this. So if I go into my transfer complete, so I know that most of the transactions in this are reconciled. Okay, so I'm going to go into transactions. I'm going to find one of these transactions up here, not my transfers that I've done. I'm going to do this one here. So if we have a look, this has been reconciled. Okay, but it's almost like we draw a line in the sand. So once that's been sent to HMRC, that stays as it is. Okay, we don't go back and impact VAT return 4 at all. Okay, VAT return 4 remains as it is. So if we just go to, for example, delete that bank receipt. So if I click on delete, it tells me it can't almost, it says, do you wish to reverse the transactions? So I'm just going to reshare my screen because someone's just indicating they can't see the screen there, so apologies. Should be working now. Let me know. Let me know if you can see that. So I'll just find this again actually. So I've just found a transaction and that is reconciled in VAT return 4. Okay, so if I go to delete this, what I get is this message here. Okay, so it's recognizing that that transaction has been submitted in a previous return. Okay, so it can't impact that return because we've drawn that line in the sand. So it's asking me, do I want to post a reversal? So it's going to post an additional transaction. It's not going to impact the original one. So if I say yes to this, what then happens is I get the original transaction still there, it's still live, but it has the word cancel next to it. But we have a new transaction. So I now have a new bank payment. Now what will happen now, that original transaction was in August. So if I come to do my next return, which will be in this one, October to December, so let's do that now. I've just done what I tell everyone in my first session not to do, is don't highlight anything. There you go. And I'm just going to do that return for October to December and calculate. What happens is it pulls it through in the next return in this window here. So it's an earlier unreconciled transaction. So what I need to do is I need to include that in my next return. Okay, so I need to opt to include, and that will be included in the October to December return and report to HMRC that way. Okay. So that was a really good question. We've also had as far as I know, all of our VAT returns say pending. Have we been doing these wrong as we have not done the journals? So what I would say is if you've got ones showing here as pending, like mine, that means it's pending as in it has, it's not marked as submitted. Now that doesn't mean it hasn't been submitted. If it was pre-Making Tax Digital, it might have been that you were submitting a different way. Sometimes these files don't always pick up the message back from HMRC. So to put your mind at rest, log on to HMRC, just make sure they have received those submissions. Okay, so don't panic if it says pending. So this is nothing to do with your journals. Okay, this is the submission side of it. But like I say, you can put your mind at rest with that. If you haven't done these journals, okay, and you haven't since day dot, then you can go back and transfer them by going into the returns and clicking transfer. But what I would say, and I won't say go and have a special appointment or ring them specifically for this. Next time you see your accountant, just say, I haven't done VAT transfer journals. Do you think I should do them? Okay, because they may have done other journals that you're not aware of. So I always say just to check with your accountant. It's really not going to cause you any issue if you haven't done it up till now to hang on until you see them next. But definitely don't cost yourself money and dedicate a phone call to your accountant for this. Okay, I do not want to cost you any money. So just next time you're already speaking to them, just ask them about VAT transfer, because you never know, they may have been doing something with the annual adjustments, etc. Let's have a look. I think that's us on top of the questions there. Okay, so yeah, I think that is. So yeah, thank you very much everyone for joining us today. We have run over very slightly, normally about a half-hour session, but that's absolutely fine if we're showing you some additional content on there. Always good to get a little demonstration and where possible for you as well, because sometimes it brings it to life. So I am going to end the session there. So thank you very much everyone for joining us. Like I say, we are going to be back again tomorrow. So please do get yourself registered for some of our upcoming sessions. And we really do look forward to seeing you in International Accounting Day, which we have extended for a week. And just remember, if you are going to register for those sessions, you do need to come to 4 out of 5 plus the quiz for the badge. Right, thank you very much for joining us, and we will see you all very soon. Take care for now.